Hello and welcome back to Wager Talk TV. This is First Pitch. Happy Friday to all of you out there joining us here live on this show. My name is Andrew McGinnis. Join me today, Dave Koken as usual, Brian Leonard at B Leonard Sports on Twitter, and Steve Merrill at Steve Merrill. Of course, Steve hosts the NBA Tip-Off Show, which will follow this show right after. Cough, cough, go Raptors, Steve. I'll throw it to you, Dave. How are things, and how was your night last night?
I lost the Phillies. Should have played it first five. Got stupid. Played it full game, and they blew a 6-3 lead in the eighth. So, you know, they're going to happen. 2 days ago, I had a KBO play where I'm down 10-2 in the middle of the game, and I win at 16-15. So they even out as far as that goes. And the idea is to win the ones that you really do have the right side. And just, well, I phrased that wrong, but, you know, you get my drift. The crazy games are going to even out. And hopefully we won't have any crazy stuff tonight.
Mr. Underdog, Brian Leonard, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Appreciate the promotion yesterday. Unfortunately, I had the Giants, and the Giants have been knocking the hell out of the ball. And one score yesterday. And it doesn't help when the two pitchers you're basing your handicap on, one gets knocked out in the second, one in the third. So not a good day. Luckily, I did have Kansas City as my free play yesterday. Nice 175, 180 winner. I just decided the wrong ones was the one I gave my clients yesterday, and that'll happen.
Steve, obviously a big day across the board, a big time in sports. So many sports in action right now. How's it going for you in every sport, but just most importantly, baseball?
Yeah, actually, I had one play last night. It was baseball. You know, even with the NBA and the NFL, I found the value in baseball. I was 8-1 for the month of September. Unfortunately, I'm now 8-2. But I guess it's a good thing when you can say, unfortunately, you're 8-2 for the month still. But I had the Dodger over last night. It didn't come through. A lot of deep fly balls that didn't go over the fence. Otherwise, I think it would have cashed. But hey, guys, to point out that Dodger game once again. Either play the Dodgers 1.5 run line or play the underdog outright. In Arizona, big dog won outright. It's an amazing phenomenon that continues to work with the Dodger games.
A coupon code I want to give out on this show, not just for myself, but for Dave, Brian, and Steve. For myself, I'm pretty much having the best 30-day run I've had since being at Wager Talk. My clients are up over 74% return on investment across the board, NBA, NHL, tennis wagers as well. I have a 5% play going up in the tennis U.S. Open semifinals, my first ever tennis 5% play. But for Steve, for Dave, for Brian, and for myself, you can use the coupon code 15OFF, 15, and the word off, and get $15 off any long-term package, whether it's 3 days, 7 days, 30 days, 90 days, whatever it may be. You guys can feel free to tweet that out or whatever you'd like to do. 15 off is the coupon code, guys. And this is the best time to really do it. Heading into the weekend, you can get people's NFL wagers, college football. I talk about it with Dave all the time. I mean, 5% play is $40. You know, you use the 15 off, get a 3-day all access pass. You're all set for every single play for the entire weekend. I think it's a pretty great deal. And my tennis play is starting at 6 p.m. Eastern. So if you're interested in grabbing that, head over to wagertalk.com. My first ever 5% tennis play of the season. Cubs at the Brewers. Dave, I'll start with you. Minus 169. I have it as the number here in the total of 9.
Well, look, I mean, the prices are going up now as far as John Lester's concerned because he's just not getting the job done anymore. It's as simple as that. And it's nothing fluky here. I mean, these numbers are bad. 5.80 ERA, and the metrics are right there. The interesting thing is, as bad as he's been, the Cubs are 4-4 when he starts. And Brandon Woodruff, the better pitcher here, but the Brewers are 4-5. When he starts. So Woodruff is the better pitcher, but he's not getting wins. And Lester's the guy you want to go against. But if you do, it's not making you any money because the Cubs offense is good enough to pick him up. And that's kind of the way I look at this game. I mean, the Brewers look like the right side with Woodruff, but it's just too risky at this price for a team that continues to kind of just flounder around and be at best an average baseball team. The team edge goes to the Cubs, and I don't like, even with the pitching edge, I don't like laying, basically won't even consider laying $1.70 or thereabouts with the lesser team. And that's the way it is here. So the pitching conflicts with the The team stuff, that's a good game to leave alone.
Steve, Cubs and Brewers?
Yeah, if you look at their last 11, Milwaukee's 6-5 straight up. Their 5 losses, they've scored 3 runs or less, including 1 run in 3 of those 5 losses. All 6 of the wins, they've scored 7 runs or more, including that 19-0 win a couple days ago. So if you think they'll get to Leicester here, they should win the game, because when they can hit the ball and score, they've been winning. When they can't score, they've been losing. It's that simple. I guess the big question for me is, does the day off hurt the momentum after that big 19-0 win? But otherwise, that could have been the short-term buy sign for Milwaukee here over the next week.
Brian, is there an underdog spot here, or kind of a stay away from that standpoint?
Well, at this number, that'd be the only thing I'd look at. Milwaukee does hit lefties pretty good. They got a 121 WRC plus, and Lester's in the downside of his career, which I thought for the last 5 years he's been on the downside of his career. But yeah, that 5.8 ERA, 9 home runs in 40 innings will do that to you. He does give up the long ball. He's always seemed to have a little problem with that. But Dave's right about Woodruff. Woodruff is one of those guys, big strikeout guy, but he hasn't fared well against the Cubs. His average game score the last 5 times is 46, which is 4% below league average. The Cubs are the better team. It gets much higher. I may put a little bet on the Cubs. I don't trust them enough with Lester, but there may be a point in this game where if Lester gets knocked out early, there may be some advantages when the Cubs bring in some right-handers against this Milwaukee lineup, and playing live may be a good bet on the Cubs when Lester gets knocked out.
Yeah, and one quick note is that Woodruff has been really good first time through the order. So there's a good chance Milwaukee gets out ahead in this game, but after that, who knows?
We often use the term pitching matchup here and pitching duel, I guess I was trying to say. And this next one here, I think that phrase is very applicable. I'll start with you, Brian. Indians, Twins.
Yeah, that Indian offense has been struggling once again lately. Kansas City, the last 2 games, outscore Cleveland 14-1. They win the last 3 games in that series, and Cleveland continues to not play well offensively. Now, when they've got Reyes hitting well, they could score 2 or 3 runs a game. The guy's phenomenal. He's a smart hitter. He goes where the ball is pitched. Unfortunately, a lot of these Indians don't. And I don't know if I have ever seen a worse offense from the catcher position. We've got 3 catchers, and three of them are probably in the bottom 5 hitters in baseball from a catching position. I really would like Perez to get on a nice roll here. I think he's got some talent, but Jesus Christ, that those guys are bad from the catcher position. It's just, especially this year, it's just one of those spots in the lineup that's just really bad. I'm a big proponent of Maeda. He's been great against the Indians. 2 starts this year, 67 average game score on the season. Last 7 starts, 65 average game score. We know all about Bieber. And Bieber's one of those guys, if I was somebody who plays pitching strikeouts, I've done a lot of it, but without giving it stuff out. But, Bieber, his last 5 starts, 11, 11, 10, 9, 10. He has 2 starts against Minnesota this year, 10 and 13. If you can get a 9 or less, and normally it's about 8.5 on Bieber. I don't think it's out yet. But I think that would be my best bet in this game, would be to play Bieber strikeouts over, because I have this game line basically where it is now. I love both these pitchers. If I would have to play it, I'd play the first 5 under.
Yep.
And I think that's the only way to go. It's such an obvious play, but that's the way I would look in this one. Bieber strikeouts over and first 5 under.
The thing is, obvious or not, these plays have been working.
Yeah.
Even the other night, you've got the matchup, and I had the first 5 under and ended up with a tie on it at 3, although there were some 3.5s on the Darvish-Bauer matchup. I mean, you got 3 of the first 4 batters scored. He walked. Darvish had a little control problem at the start. He walked 2 batters, got a guy out, and then gave up a home run. Nobody ever scored again. That was the final score. And you look at these 2 guys, and I mean, Bieber's been the best pitcher in baseball. Period. He's been the best pitcher in the game this year. And Maeda isn't far behind. And their numbers, especially the first 2 times through the order, are absolutely ridiculous. So unless somebody steps out of character tonight, or you get errors, which you can't handicap in advance, it's going to be small ball. That's the other thing here is if you get somebody on, leadoff guy gets on, I would not be surprised if you see either manager, particularly Cleveland, because Alomar likes to do it anyway. They might bunt and play for 1 run. And infields are going to play in if runners get into scoring position, because this is one of those games that the managers know going in, every run could be really critical here. And to me, you just play the first 5 under again. You can play the full game as well, but if you're banking on starting pitching, and that would be the situation here, it's under 3.5. I'll take my chances.
Steve?
Yeah, other than that Dodger run line, stat I mentioned at the top of the show about either play the -1.5 or you play the outright underdog. The other one that's amazing to me this year is the Indians are now 21-3 when they score 3 runs or more. I keep mentioning it every time I'm on here. And look at yesterday. They lose. They give up 11, but they only score 1. So once again, that doesn't count in that sample. But it's interesting to this game, guys, because, a total of 6.5. I mean, obviously, the betting line and the odds makers and the matchup are saying they probably have a tough time getting to 3 runs maybe here. So you would think Cleveland would be great in a low-scoring game with that pitching staff, but 21-3 now when they score 3 runs or more. But this is not a game that I'm real comfortable after a 1-run outing yesterday that they can get there.
Yeah, Steve, when I'm plugging these in before the show starts, it's always a head-scratcher seeing the 6.5 there. Used to seeing the 8s and the 9s somewhere in that ballpark, so it kind of throws you off a little bit. You check the starting pitcher.
I always check to make sure it's not a 7-inning game, guys.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I do by default nowadays.
And by the way, if you want some bonus information, the wind's blowing in. So
went from 7 to 6.5 because of that.
I was actually shocked. Well, there's still some 7s out there with the underjuiced.
Right.
And I don't get it.
And that's a really key number, Dave. Really key number.
I know, but with these 2 guys going,
with these 2,
Brian, not to put you on the spot, but what was that? Do you know what that strikeout prop was?
I don't think it's out yet. I haven't. Well, we're in the middle of doing the show. I haven't had a chance to see it. There's not a lot of places. They got killed last year in these strikeout props, so a lot of them are waiting late to do it. So I don't know what it is now, but normally it's about the 8.5 range, and it's gone over every time. Well, so if you're first to the table, you get a great number on it. If you're last to the table, you just can't play it.
I mean, some teams, it's either a blast or a walk or a strikeout. I mean, strikeouts aren't very uncommon right now, and I agree with that play. I would look the exact same direction.
Strikeouts, they won't break the record this year because they're only playing 60 games, but the strikeout records have been obliterated the last couple of years because everybody's trying to hit the ball out of the park. And so home runs are up and strikeouts are up. It's a 3 true outcome game. Walk, strikeout, homer.
If a team was to play old National League ball, there's no stolen bases this year either. If a team would come in and play the old National League ball, or you swing, you go for where the ball is pitched, you try to keep the ball in play, and you steal bases, I think that team could have success because you're doing something nobody else does. It's sort of like playing the option in college football. Nobody else sees it, have an advantage. And if I was one of these teams who just didn't have a lot of talent, that would be what I would look to do in my organization.
Especially when you can sneak into the playoffs now with more spots, and that kind of strategy works well in the playoffs also. You could really see a long shot hit. By the way, Dave, real quick, one of the spots that still have 7 in this game is one of the most square offshore books in history. So it tells you once again which way the public might be looking in this one. And as you know, the public hates to play under 6.5, and they like the overs in general. So I think that's another sign that the sharp money has pushed this down to 6.5.
Well, I didn't even. To me, it's just, it's obvious money. And it doesn't mean it's got to look. Maybe it doesn't get there because anything can happen in a game. But I mean, the Twins have been an under team at home. The Bieber games have been going under like crazy. Maeda's not giving up any runs. It just, I won't say shocked because nothing shocks me. But if this turns into a 5-4 game, I'm going to be very surprised. Let's put it that way.
So for the first time ever, I believe, on this show, can we confidently have a consensus play, first 5 under?
Kiss of death.
Well, I bet it.
I won't just sort of win.
I just find that hilarious, like you said, Dave. The 3-step approach. I played on a baseball team. I blame the manager sometimes. It's the guys that set the batting order, right? I had the first 3 guys in the order on my team would go up there and just try and hit the moon. And even if you get a home run, sometimes that's great, but get on base so that second or third guy can score and bring you in, and not just, nothing worse than a solo home run. I mean, there's things worse in life, but nice to have some guys on base and then get some runners in, that's for sure. Once again, guys, everybody out there in the chat box looking to get in action with any of us here for this weekend, that coupon code 15 off, 15 off. I know I'll have action from Brian, Steve, and Dave. Dave has a 5% play up in college football. That'll be included. If you get that 3-day all access, you'll see that. You'll see the football stuff. You'll see the NFL, MLB, everything included in those 3-day, 7-day, 1 month all access passes. We'll move forward to our third featured game here, Reds, Cardinals. I'm going to start with you here, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, St. Louis, of course, was way behind a month ago with the games played. They're starting to catch up a little bit here. Now they're sitting at 19-18 on the season. They're still about 8 games or 6 games, I believe, behind Cincinnati as far as they've played, but they had the same amount of wins. It's actually 7 because they're 7 ahead of them in the loss column. We'll see what happens with St. Louis. They've alternated, 2 or 3 wins, 2 or 3 losses, back-to-back losses, back-to-back wins, and then they lose against Detroit yesterday, 6-3. I'm still waiting for Cincinnati to play better than their 19-25 record indicates. Maybe I'm a fool for doing that, and it might be too late in the season. What jumps out to me here, guys, though, is the offensive disadvantage for Cincinnati. Batting .210 on the season, 195 on the road. As you guys know, I always like to look at road stats. They're averaging 3.2 runs. St. Louis, 4.5 home and away. St. Louis has the offensive edge in this game for sure.
So here's one of those games where you've got the pitching points you to one side, and then you start looking at the team stuff. And Castillo's clearly got the edge here. Wainwright's got a great ERA, but his metrics aren't very good. Castillo's metrics are better than his ERA. He's off a good start. He's had good success in this ballpark, if you like to talk about that stuff. I mean, he comes up as the superior pitcher right down the line. But the Reds are 2-6 when starts, and the Cardinals, despite the fact that Wainwright is, kind of just a guy at this point in his career, they're 5-1 when he takes the mound. Cardinals know how to win baseball games. Reds don't know how to win baseball games. So to me, this is one of those games where you can look at it and say you can make a case for the Reds' first 5 because they've got the better pitcher, and you're going to make a case for St. Louis full game because you're getting them basically at pick'em, maybe even plus a few pennies, and they are clearly the better baseball team. It's as simple as that. I mean, the Reds, this is the problem with betting the Reds. Even when they've got a pitching edge, they find ways to lose baseball games. And they're 3.5 games out of the wild card in a year where just about everybody's in contention. The Mets are ahead of them. The Brewers are ahead of them. The Rockies are ahead of them, plus all the teams that are in the playoffs, the Marlins, the Giants. I just can't risk any money on the Reds at this point. So even though I think with Castillo they're the right side, and maybe you could argue that they're not the worst bet in the world first 5, I didn't bet it.
Is there a play for you, Brian?
Yeah, one of our colleagues on the site that's having a really good baseball season had Cincinnati yesterday. I won't mention any names. I didn't join him on it yesterday because I just don't trust Cincinnati at this point. And, they got off to a nice lead, and all of a sudden, the next day they were winning 3-0. All of a sudden, next time I looked, they were down 4-3. Much like Cincinnati coming into the season, I don't want a part of them. I do want to point out, if anybody hasn't bought a subscription to The Athletic and you like to read,
good stuff.
Buy one.
Really good stuff.
Some great special going on right now. I don't remember what it was, so I don't want to misquote anything. But Eno Saris is in there, a great fantasy baseball writer, and he has a great article that was on there earlier today about players with great command and control. And one of the guys he has on there is Adam Wainwright. And I know what Dave's saying when he says Adam Wainwright's not the same pitcher anymore. Well, this is a guy, and we see this a lot from like Verlander Verlander's still got the big strikeout numbers. Obviously Wainwright doesn't. But we've seen this year in and year out. There are these guys that do what they have to do to stay in the league. And Wainwright's accuracy and his command and control has been tremendous. He's had 6 starts this year. And I'm a big believer in game scores. It's a one number that tells you how the pitcher did on the season. League average is 50. He's had one game under 50, a 49. His other games, 66, 59, 57, 78, 58. No, he's not the same pitcher as he was before. And if you put a season of Castillo against Wainwright, I think Castillo is the better pitcher. But it's hard to go against a pitcher pitching as well as Wainwright is right now on what he is doing. He's not the same pitcher as he was before, and he's having success. And if you take a look at this series, St. Louis has dominated the last 3 years against Cincinnati. To make St. Louis an underdog here, I don't see it. St. Louis or nothing for me.
One other note, and this is the sign of an old pro. Wainwright has not been good the first time through the lineup. 261 batting average, but an 852 OPS. So he's getting hit hard early. But if he's able to survive that, he really settles in. Second time through the order, 160 batting average, OPS in the 4s. And third time through the order, 190 with a 548 OPS. That's the mark of a guy who just knows what he's doing out there. And might get him early. If you don't get him early, you're probably not going to get him at all.
Another good reason also to play the Cardinals full game, as you mentioned, Dave, instead of first 5 if you're looking to play the Cardinals.
What's that?
Another good reason to play the Cardinals full game instead of first 5, as you mentioned earlier, because that's another plus to the longer game if he's able to hang in there and go more than 4 or 5 innings.
Plus, the Reds' bullpen will find a way to screw the game up anyway.
And you're getting the better offense at home as well.
No, I'm not saying that to be funny because I made the mistake last night. I want the Philadelphia offense for 9 innings, and I don't really trust Arrieta, so it's not a starting pitching matchup. And I'm sitting there 6-3 in the 8th inning, and as soon as Hunter comes into the game, it's like, shit. And, 5 minutes later, it's a 6-6 game, and I knew I was going to lose it. That's the worry. These bad bullpens can screw you up in any game. There's no way to handicap them. Yeah. And the Phillies bullpen, by the way, I think has now given up 23 runs in its last 16 innings. 23 runs in 16 innings. You can't.
I was on the other side of that, Dave, and I thought I lost. I thought it was over.
Well, you're down 6-3 in the 8th. You're probably going to lose. But
watching the football game and said to myself, like, hey, I might as well take a look at the score. Might as well see what happened here. And if there's any team that I wasn't going to be shocked blew the game late, it would be the Phillies. But obviously, I don't feel like I might have had the right side there. However, I definitely was going to.
They won the game. You had the right side.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just trying to say that obviously, we were on different sides, but I mean, the side you were on looked right for most of the game.
It was, sure, but so. and it would have been right if I hadn't been an idiot. And if I'd have stuck to doing what I usually do, which is playing first 5 so I can keep the damn bullpens out of it. There are only a few teams where I feel comfortable playing 9 innings. Oakland, for instance, because their bullpen comes in and shuts everybody down. It's a really good bullpen.
Tampa Bay.
But there just aren't many of those around. So you're just better off. If you think you've got the right side, sometimes it won't work. You might have a 5-inning game where you're behind after 5 and your team comes back and wins it. But I think on balance, you're better off playing first 5 than full game.
Brian, quick note from you here.
Yeah, Dave was talking about the Reds bullpen. I think there's a lot of talent in their Reds bullpen. They're just not being used correctly. If you were to take those individual players and put them on other teams, they'd have a lot better success. I like the Reds bullpen. I just don't like the way they're used, and I don't like the management. I just don't like anything that's going on in Cincinnati, but I think they have some talented players.
Yeah, and Andrew, real quick, 10 seconds here. Cardinals plus 27 run differential, 4th best in the National League right now, 11 better than the Cubs, and 54 ahead of the Reds, even though they've played less games. So Cardinals might be a little bit better than we realize.
Once again, that coupon code for Dave, Brian, Steve, and myself, 15 off, 15 off. That'll be expiring at the end of the weekend. $15 off a 3-day, 7-day, or 30-day all access pass, every single play right to your email. I also, once again, have a 5% tennis play going at 6 p.m. Eastern time. A lot of games to get to, guys. We'll get right through them. We'll blast through these. We can't take too much time on any of them, but we want to get enough information and get some picks out for them, of course. Start with you here, Steve, with this one. Baltimore, New York, the Yankees here. Obviously, big favorites, Cole on the mound. This is part one of a doubleheader. We're not going to talk about game two for obvious reasons, but any action for you on game one?
Yeah, I haven't messed with the doubleheaders this season, and I'm not going to really start here. Obviously, it's a pitching mismatch here. Yankees offense, though, has been just ice cold with all the injuries. They have now put up 7 runs in 2 of their past 3 games, but the other 3 games during the last 5, 1 run. So, which Yankee offense shows up is the big question.
Talk about totals here, Dave. This next one here with Philadelphia and Miami. Anything from you on the first half or a full game?
That's a doubleheader as well. No, I don't talk doubleheaders. Next.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was just the second half that you don't like to talk about. Anything from you, Steve, or Brian?
I basically have crossed off the doubleheaders.
I'm going to put a sticky note on my my big monitor here in front of me. Don't ask Dave doubleheaders.
Definitely don't ask him about a fantasy doubleheader.
A fantasy doubleheader?
Anything from you, Brian?
I can think of something there, but it wouldn't have anything to do with baseball.
Yeah, Dave's all for that. Yesterday, I liked the Orioles against the Yankees. Got rained out, but I liked the Aiken and Cole matchup. I thought there was some value on Baltimore. Now they switched the pitchers. And they're not facing each other, so I have nothing in that one. The Nola situation for Philadelphia is you're getting him on the road here, and that's the problem with Nola. He's much better at home than he is on the road. That said, I have nothing in that game as well. And in fact, they don't even announce the pitchers in the second game. So I've got nothing, obviously, in those either.
As far as the Braves Nationals goes, guys, I mean, people say when you're hot, you're hot. When you're cold, you're cold. I had a small piece of this Braves team yesterday, and holy shit, like just what a collapse from this Nationals team. And it's just such an up and down team, inconsistent team. Is there any thoughts here from you, Dave? 11 as the total. Braves minus 145 favorites.
This is why it's funny sometimes. If you were to just run down starting pitcher performances this year, Eric Fetty would be right at the bottom of the list. And the Nationals are 3-2 in the games he started. Go figure, right? I think he's had one decent game. And Tomlin actually has been pretty good for the Braves. And they're 1-3 in the games he starts. So sometimes it gets really unpredictable. I mean, the edge belongs to Tomlin here, especially with the Nationals facing a righty who they don't beat. But I'm not going to be laying $1.40 either, especially given the fact that for whatever reason, Nationals are actually, considering their record, and then they're playing 600 ball when Fetty starts. It makes no sense at all, but it is what it is.
Steve, a quick note here. Any play for you in this one?
Yeah, Nationals, my hometown team. I've been following them close all year. We touched on this I believe, when I was on Monday. This is the do or die week for the Nationals, and I thought they would start to show something short term. I was on Bet On Today Tuesday, Wager Talk Today Tuesday. I gave them out as a free play. They won outright as an underdog. After blowing that 5-0 lead, as you referenced last night, on a 4-1 run, and then they're up 5-0, and then they lose. I'd be very careful with them going forward. We'll see what they're made of here tonight and tomorrow, but it's a wait-and-see approach for me. And I'll tell you right now, if they don't show up the next couple nights, Bell bets off for the last 15 games. So I'd be very careful with this team.
We're down to 18 games left for the Nationals. They're 5.5 behind Miami and San Francisco for the wild card. They're getting real close to being out of it.
Dave, I'm sure you saw my tweet. I'm pretty sure I tagged you in it yesterday, and you said yesterday on the show, specifically went out of your way to mention that no lead is safe anymore in the majors, especially with a few teams. And when that was a 5-0 game, because of what you said and just because of what we've seen this season, it was early. And I wasn't extremely worried about it, but I didn't think it would just be 1 or 2 innings until it was just, a 1-run game again. So be careful.
The interesting thing, the Nationals went out and smoked a lefty, and then he wasn't in the game anymore, and then they never hit again. So
I guess sometimes stats come to life. I think stats are there for a reason, and sometimes they are right. We have Terry Edelman in here, always a loyal viewer here to the Wager Talk family. I gently touched the like button at the beginning of the show. Happy to hear it. Happy to hear your keyboard still in good shape. All the rest of you guys, please smash or gently touch that like button and let us know you're enjoying the show. Wager Talk TV. First pitch also 7 days a week, guys. This is not us for not the end of us for the week. We have Saturday show and Sunday show. But as Dave and both Matt Joseph have pointed out to me, it'll be a very quick show for the next
Sunday,
2 days. And I believe a little bit tomorrow, but obviously we'll try and work that in. Everyone loves baseball, but it's the first Sunday with just so many football games. We're gonna want to watch those as well. But get your MLB fix in as well, guys. Just hop onto this channel real quick and see what the guys have for some plays and some information. It's always great info on First Pitch right here on Wager Talk TV. DeGrom taking on the Jays.
Hey! I didn't get a chance to talk about this game.
Which one?
Well, the game we're talking about, the Atlanta-Washington game. You call on Dave on doubleheaders. He doesn't have anything on. You won't give me a chance on this.
Did you say you wanted to talk about it?
I would like to talk about this game.
Okay, we're doing quick hits now because there's
I know.
Games,
so. Have an opinion on it. I do have an opinion.
Okay.
The Washington Dave talked about, they don't hit righties that well. They're at a 90 WRC plus. Atlanta 127, number one in baseball against righties. Eric Fetties had 2 career starts against Atlanta. Game scores 7-31. Josh Tomlin had 3 career starts against Washington. Game scores 21, 43, and the 64. And that was the last time he was out against Washington. But you go back and look at what he's done so far: 43, 36, 38, and 64. That was an illusion last time. Washington's going to come up and hit him today. You've got an Atlanta team that's been playing very well offensively. Nobody ever talked about this the other day when Atlanta scored 29 runs. They were shut out the day before. That's baseball. And I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. Don't trust either one of these starting pitchers. 11's high, no doubt about it. But to be able to see Tomlin just 5 days ago, and now you get him again, I'm on the over here.
Brian, we got Johnny Outline here saying, at Brian, stand up and let it rip. Honestly, I looked away to my odds page and I hear you give me a little holler. Nobody should ever be taken away from breaking down a game with that enthusiasm, that energy. So I love it, Brian. I love the energy. But if I can, we'll throw you into the next game as well as DeGrom takes on the Jays.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting. Toronto's playing in Buffalo this year. Everything we have seen, it's a place that gives up a lot of home runs. You got Jacob DeGrom, who is probably the best pitcher in baseball in avoiding home runs. 23 home runs he's allowed the last 3 years, and he's pitched 470 innings. That's crazy. Now he's going into a park that gives up a lot of home runs. I still don't expect Toronto to have a lot of success here. Can't lay the number with DeGrom because they never seem to score for him. I'll be sitting this one out, but I'm going to watch it just to see how the Toronto batters try to approach this game.
I think you could lay the number with DeGrom here. Maybe put it in the parlay. I mean, they are 6-2 this year when he starts. So they're actually not doing what they've done in the past. They're getting some runs in those games. Sometimes it's after DeGrom leaves, but they are winning games. And Chase Anderson, by the way, the numbers aren't terrible overall, but the Mets could get out to a lead in this game because he's had struggles first time through the lineup.
Is there a play for you on this one, Steve?
Well, the first thing I'll point out is that, Toronto's offense has really cooled off after putting up the 12, their first home game back after the Boston series. They've had 2 runs in each of their last 2 games, and they've had only 4 and 6 hits each time. So I do like DeGrom in this one, and it'd be one of the few times I'm not looking at a Buffalo over.
Brian, we see Kansas City Royals now move towards a favorite role against the Pirates. I know you've cashed some tickets with them as an underdog. Do you want to get on them, though, as a favorite?
Yeah, I was looking to play on them, but not in this price range. I have nothing on the game, this particular game, but I just wanted to point out something I saw in the Royals game yesterday. Dave talked about this, and of course, Dave's really good at breaking these things down. He talked about the strike zones in Major League Baseball, where there are pitches on the outside and inside of the strike zone that are getting called strikes, and the upper and lower parts of the strike zone are not getting called this year. You see a lot of guys, and then the slider's been so good over the last couple of decades on the low strike zone. There's a lot of pitchers that throw a lot of sliders, and now they're not having the same success because of the way the game is called. Yesterday against the Indians are one of those teams that the starters on this team pick off the outside and the inside of the plate. Yesterday, the Royals went up there, and they didn't care where the fastballs were. They were swinging on those outside fastballs, and they were having a lot of success. There were some games or some players yesterday, they were swinging at fastballs that looked to me that they were a good 4 or 5 inches off the plate, and they were having success. They were swinging hard for them. The Royals in this series against the Indians, I think that was what the coaching staff told them to do. Listen, we don't want to deal with curveballs. We don't want to deal with all these off-speed pitches. When you got a fastball and it's around your midsection in the strike zone, go out of the strike zone and swing for the fences on these things. And the Royals yesterday, especially with Savali in the bullpen, really went at it. So I think the Royals may be onto something here if they're going against fastball pitchers. So keep that in mind. You might want to bet on the Royals team totals over when they're facing a fastball pitcher that does a lot of throws the ball in the middle of the upper and lower levels. And I think we might be able to be on the beginning of this trend here. And I'm going to keep an eye on it again tonight.
Steve, the Tigers take on the White Sox. Totals move from 9 to 8. Giolito on the mound for the White Sox. Is there a play here, or is it just a huge favorite taking on a team that's you quite often want to fade here?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really make a case for Detroit, obviously, but I will say this. Of all the games on the board today, there's one team that qualifies in my mathematical underdog system I developed over 20 years ago, and that actually is the Tigers here. Not saying that's a reason to play it, but it's enough of a reason for me to stay off the White Sox.
Any thoughts from you, either Dave or Brian, on this game real quick?
No, it's 280 for a reason. Sure.
I would agree with that one as well. We'll move into our next one here. Cincinnati, we already covered that one. Angels, Rockies, Canning, Marquez. I'm going to go to you first, Dave.
Yeah, Canning's not a guy you can trust, and I don't know about him in this ballpark. The Rockies could knock him around. Marquez looks like he might be finding himself again. He was having command issues for a few starts, just not locating his fastball. But last start out, he looked more like the Marquez we're used to seeing. I don't want to lay the price, so I'm not going to play it, but the edge would go to Marquez over Canning, and therefore I would side with the Rockies in this one.
This was my free play. You can get it at wt.buzz/BL, and I break this one down on the website at Wager Talk.
Yeah, nothing for me, Andrew, but I will say a fantasy segment. I'll go ahead and throw mine in here now. I always look for hitters in this ballpark, obviously, and Mike Trout's in really good form. I'm sure he's expensive as hell, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him have a big weekend.
And back at you, Steve, with Cueto taking on Richards, Giants, Padres here.
Yeah, Padres continue to win. I mean, they're one of the best teams in baseball. They're an explosive offensive team. The Giants have been outperforming what we expected. They're still a game above 500 in the playoff race. They got their first loss in their last 6 games last night. So 6-1. Padres have now won 5 straight. They're going under in 4 of those last 5, surprisingly, but I still lean towards that momentum with San Diego. But as we've talked about here on the show, they're becoming a very public team.
Yep. A little too public as far as the price is concerned. I think they're overpriced here, to be honest with you. I made this price lower. And part of that is that Johnny Cueto is still figuring out ways to get guys out. He doesn't have the stuff he used to have, but he's a crafty right-hander at this point. And by the way, very good numbers first time through the order for Cueto. 187 batting average, 515, I think it is. OPS, can't read my writing, but they're good numbers. Richards has been the model of inconsistency for the Padres. He can be very effective, but when he's not commanding his stuff, he gets wild in the strike zone, which is a very bad thing because hitters tee off on that. He's an unpredictable guy. I think I'd take the price first in this game.
Any final thoughts here, Brian? Then you can move us into the Seattle-Arizona game.
Okay. Richards at home this year hasn't pitched well. Last 3 starts, 18, 45, 44 game scores. Don't want any part of that. I think the first 5 with Cueto is the way to go in this one. As for the Mariners, Diamondbacks, interesting game. Both teams throwing lefties. These are 2 of the 3 worst hitting offenses in baseball against lefties. So you would think, oh, okay, well, we'll look to play the under here. Well, you got to go with Kikuchi and Caleb Smith. Caleb Smith I like, but he's dealt with coronavirus when he was with Miami before the trade, and he was coming off of an injury. and he's one of those guys that isn't very effective. Basically, he throws a lot of pitches to get his outs, and he is a strikeout pitcher. But he did throw 70 pitches last time out, but not this
3 innings
spot for him. And then Kikuchi is Kikuchi, and I will pass.
Yeah, this is an interesting game to me too. I mean, the Diamondbacks just played their World Series. This was a big series for them against the Dodgers. They played hard, took 2 games, extra innings, lost them both, got the win last night. And I wonder how interested they'll be with Seattle coming in. You know, a team from the other league, not exactly a named team. Caleb Smith has thrown 3 innings this season, and he walked 6 batters. So you have to question how long he'll be out there and what his effectiveness will be. Kikuchi's metrics are actually not bad. First 2 times through the lineup, he's been pretty good. After that, he's a train wreck. And here's maybe the most surprising thing that nobody's mentioned this. I haven't heard anybody mention this in any baseball shows on TV or anything like that. It's the Mariners, I know. They're 2 games out of the wild card. They're in the race. This is a big series for them against a losing team. They have a chance to go in and win this series or maybe sweep the series. They've got a chance to. I know it doesn't make sense because they're not a very good team, but they're 2 games out of the wild card. These are big games for them. I don't think they're big games for Arizona. I think there's an edge for the Mariners here.
Yeah, to throw in my 2 cents, look, you talk about how that was the World Series they played, Dave. I think that whenever you see a situation like that, it looks good for about a couple games following, and then they get right back to being the team that they once were. This is actually a play that I'm involved in with my clients. I'm on Arizona in this one, and I haven't played Arizona, I don't think, all year. I actually don't think I played them all year. This might be one of the first spots, but I kind of just had it marked as a strong effort against an outstanding team. More importantly, though, this Mariners team, 8-16 record on the road, and although Arizona's record is 16-29, 500 record outside the division, so sometimes you see some hidden stats. And I know that as much as I've really enjoyed having some comedy from not just Dave but everybody that's been able to get their licks in on the Diamondbacks. This is one of those ones that wasn't something I was searching for and just fired up to back the Diamondbacks. But I thought this was a good opportunity to back them, and we'll see what this young Mariners squad can do tonight. But like you said, Dave, these games to me are sometimes even more fun to watch than even a big time team, because it's actually a big game situation. Steve, your thoughts?
It's a big game for one of the teams, and look, the other side.
Arizona's out. It doesn't mean it's not a big game for them, because it's a chance to win a ball game.
Well, I know, but in terms of, and maybe I'm overweighing the importance, but you've got one team that's 2 games out of the wild card, and the other team, I don't know. If I'm on the Diamondbacks, I'm thrilled I got the win last night. It takes some of the pressure off. I mean, they're 3-18 in their last 21, but I don't know. I'm not excited about Seattle coming in.
It's like the way I see it.
We have opposite opinions in this game.
Yeah, I know, and that's completely okay. Your take here, Steve?
Yeah, Andrew, the more I look at it, I'd actually lean Arizona with you here as an underdog. I don't think there's a big difference between these teams. Seattle this year is minus 43 run differential. Arizona minus 42. They've actually a run better after last night now. But what jumps out to me is Seattle's only played 13 teams above 500. They played 30 losing teams. And the D-backs have played 34 teams above 500 and just 11 losing teams. And the D-backs are actually 5-6 against the 11 losing teams they played. They're 11-23 in the other games. So they've had a tough schedule. I know they've only gone 2-10, but the fact they won last night, 2 ways to look at it. There's a letdown, as Dave said, that is a concern, but also they're still playing hard. And I think that's what you want to see when you're backing an ugly team like this, is that they haven't tossed the towel yet. And from what we saw the last couple of nights, they are still playing hard.
Closing thought from you, Brian?
It depends on Caleb Smith. I mean, if he can go out there and pitch like he has pitched in the past, get a good shot. But I'd be really worried about that. A guy with 3 innings pitched so far this year and 6 walks in those 3 innings. That's not real good.
Dave, are you showing off your watch when you do that? Are you trying to show us your watch? Is that what you're doing?
Is that a Rolex?
No, it's actually a Shinola, which is a company out of Detroit, and all-American product, and it's a very good watch.
My play last night on the Giants was Shinola. I wanted to say something, and we haven't talked anything about other than baseball today. Special day in American history today, 9/11, September 11th. Dave and I, Steve as well, have been around a long time. I was 2 years old when Kennedy was shot. I do remember where I was when the Vietnam War ended. I was in 9th grade, and we all remember where we were when the planes went into the buildings and to the towers in New York. And I just wanted to touch on just the way the feeling is around the country and what happened there. And don't forget everybody that we lost in the wars and all the people we lost in the towers, everything that happened 19 years ago. Terrible part of our history, just like obviously the COVID is for the entire world. But I just wanted to just think about those people as this day goes along.
Excellent point there, Brian. I think the biggest message, I guess we can say, is never forget. And I had the privilege when I was in New York to see all the names written all over in a huge circle, everybody impacted by that, and just a tragic event. Guys, kind of a tough note to leave on, but I do hope all three of you guys have an outstanding weekend. Best of luck with your wagers tonight. Enjoy NFL Sunday on Sunday. And once again, for our viewers, thank you very much for joining me here on First Pitch. We'll have Matt Josephs and Dave Koken and the rest of the gang joining you guys for First Pitch tomorrow and Sunday. There'll be shorter shows, though. And don't forget that coupon code, 15 off, only applicable for the four of us. This is kind of the, this is the squad, the cool kids club. Nobody else gets this coupon code. But I guess you're not really cool if you call yourself that. But 15 off is the coupon code. You can grab that 3-day, 7-day, 30-day, all access applicable for all of that. Go Raps, go. Other than that, see you guys on Monday.